So I'm joined here by Adam Schierau, aka SnowPirate. He is a videographer for Humber Esports. So Adam, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, of course. It's my pleasure.
So Adam, would you be able to tell me a little bit about your history, kind of how you got here?
Sure. I mean, coming to Humber, I was originally in a different program. I was taking media communications. I kind of found out that wasn't really my jam. And I knew a couple people who had gone through this program. One was my closest friend, Justin, and then also through going to Mediacom, I happened to be rooming in a house with you, and you suggested going into film and television, and that's where I am now. And with that, I've just been working with Humber Esports, and it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, that's crazy. That's brand new information to me. I never knew that. Would you be able to tell me about just how you got into esports as a whole?
Esports as a whole, I think, oh God, it was probably League of Legends. And that's a whole journey in and of itself, because I remember almost playing the beta of that game, and I just never did. And then I started playing around season 5, season 6, watching LCS, getting into esports through that. I was also into CSGO specifically, esports. That's always been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed that. And lately I've also been watching, also going back, I can talk a bit about old Halo and old Call of Duty pro scene, which will always have a fond place in my heart. But yeah, I mean, ever since, I've been pretty invested in esports, and that's kind of one of my biggest interests.
So you've seen a lot of different titles then, even before going into Humber?
Oh yeah. I used to watch a lot of not so much all the way back in the MLG days like some other people, but even back in Modern Warfare 2 era, where it was, at least the local scene I knew a bit about. And then when it started really picking up with the CDL especially, that's when I started tuning in a bit more. So it's been probably the last 7 to 8 years.
All right. And so when we talk about you coming into Humber Esports, would you be able to just kind of recall and just kind of talk about that process on hopping in?
That was a really easy decision for me to make, I think. Because again, esports is something that I'm very interested in, and being able to contribute to collegiate esports in an environment that I'm fairly comfortable in, and I know people who are in it, as well as being able to really shine a light on something that a lot of people don't really consider. Especially since, the world is very sports centric. So having an outlet for professional esports at a collegiate level, even just, professional video gaming and competition as a whole, of course I wanted to participate. So really was a matter of talking with you, talking with Kevin, getting signed on, and then kind of from there just getting the ball rolling and starting to make content and having fun with it.
What would you say were kind of your first impressions of just not even just the media side of Humber Esports, but just all of Humber Esports?
I mean, definitely when I heard about stuff I think one of the biggest things that I heard about first was obviously the Call of Duty team and how successful they were. That's a whole thing in itself. I think it's incredibly impressive how successful the Call of Duty team were. And that was something to me that really stuck out, because it shows that, I mean, even at a collegiate level, you can really be competing at a high level and making money from it, while also being able to use that as a gateway to further your career, either in professional play, behind the scenes, content. There's so many ways that you can go about it. And having Humber Esports be so professional and impressive straight out the gate really just kind of sold it for me.
Yeah, I definitely can't vouch for Kevin's professionalism enough, at least compared to maybe other places. I'm not entirely certain. But so when we talk a bit more about doing the media work for HCE, as we say, would you say that what we do is a little bit more FMTV centric, or would you say that it crosses over more with Mediacom?
It's definitely a bit of both. Mediacom is an incredibly broad program where when I was in it, I was doing everything from Oh God. Graphic design, web design, studio photography, videography, PR. A lot of that does have weight in Humber Esports just because I think that it is a very broad kind of professional environment. There's a lot of places for a lot of different types of jobs, a lot of opportunities for people who really want to be able to participate, who have an interest in esports. Definitely the FMTV side comes in when you're talking about actually filming, making content, producing, maybe higher end content like documentaries or pieces like that. Journalism can come into it as well. It's a very broad thing that a lot of different careers kind of stem from. And I think that that's something that really adds a lot of value to it.
And I think especially, at least with us, the way we run things around here is, there's only so many people involved. You kind of find yourself having to wear multiple hats, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
sometimes you have to do a lot more than you'd think, but I think in the end, regardless, it is a good experience to be able to do that and learn as you go. It's a great environment to have that opportunity.
Would you say that in some way or another, balancing Humber Esports work on top of just your program, do you think that it kind of hones your skills and actually makes you better in your program?
I would say so. I think that just having I don't want to say added pressure, but it fits. Having that added bit of workload definitely kind of, it kicks you in the ass a little bit, and it really kind of gives you the opportunity to say, okay, I need to sit down, I need to schedule, I need to make sure that all my stuff is good, have a plan going forward, and being able to have that as something on the side as well as focusing on the program, I think is really, really good experience because it is stress, but at the end of the day, if you're enjoying it, then it can be good stress and it can really further you as a professional.
Would you say that in some ways it might be kind of like putting on like an ankle weight and then taking those weights off?
Oh, Rock Lee style, of course.
Yeah. Actually,
I feel like Rock Lee when I'm doing Humber Esports, dropping the ankle weight all the way down and just going supersonic. Definitely, it's a really good practice for the future.
Yeah. So I know, especially obviously because we live together and I know you. So this past semester, you have dealt with regular Humber Esports work. You dealt with your program, and you've dealt actually with also working at Humber's Film Cage. So would you be able to talk a little bit about, how stressful that could have been at some times?
It definitely gets pretty stressful. The nice thing about working at the Film Cage is it is a very chill environment. Everybody there is super nice. I feel like we all get along and we can get our work done fairly easily. The real issue with the cage is when it gets busy, it gets really busy. Especially when you're delivering stuff for IPs, documentaries, studio dramas. Like that is a nightmare at times because you're dealing with so much equipment. You have to make sure that every single thing that's going out is checked off properly in the system. So it gets really, really difficult when it's busy. But when it's a little bit more laid back and there's not much to do, there is the opportunity for me at least to get some work done. So I've found that through that, being able to actually just sit down, plan things out, either for Humber Esports or FMTV, it gives me the opportunity to really get ahead on my stuff without, potentially being distracted by being at home. So that's something that's definitely added a bit to the stress just because it's a lot to focus on, but it has helped in different ways, definitely.
So when we talk about getting some work done, would there happen to be any projects or assignments that you have had to do for FMTV that crosses over with esports?
Oh, definitely. Well, this semester I had the opportunity to pitch and direct a documentary about collegiate esports. And I'm very, very happy with it. I think that it turned out really well. It's called Smashing Keys, and it's really focused on... Originally, it was focused on Humber Esports specifically, but the more that we were developing it, the more that it kind of went in a general collegiate esports direction. But I had the opportunity to interview a lot of people that I would consider good friends, people like the ex Call of Duty coach Dante, the ex Smash coach Michael, Kevin, and Jeff themselves as well. Very important people in the Humber Esports ecosystem. And I think it's just a really fun little exploration into fundamentally what collegiate esports is and can be. And I mean, despite a lot of stress, which obviously comes from being a director, it was very rewarding. And I'm happy that I got the chance to really kind of delve into what esports is and give an explanation for people who may not know as much about it.
Yeah, because I know what you mean. Because as soon as you say competitive video games, some people kind of scratch their heads a little bit, and they're like, "What? What?" But yeah. So when you talk about directing a documentary, that's a lot. Did you feel like going into the actual shoots themselves? Would you say that maybe you were nervous going into those interviews?
I mean, I could get into the wealth of issues that we had. Like, oh god, the second day of filming B-roll, the entire college just had a blackout, which was a lot of fun to deal with. And then the day after that, which was our first interviews, we got there in the morning, and the fire alarm was just going off for like half an hour. And I was just thinking, oh my god, I'm not going to be able to film these interviews. Like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Thankfully, that got sorted. We got through everything fairly smoothly, and I'm pretty happy with how everything went. It was just a matter of like getting through the stress, thinking on the fly, even in some situations, and that's not something that you can really be taught. That's something that you have to experience. So I'm very thankful for that, and the opportunity to actually be able to, okay, this went wrong. How can we fix that? How can we make it better? How can we change it? I think that's something that's incredibly valuable. And overall, the experience was just stressful, but very rewarding. So I'm very happy that I got that opportunity.
I like that you started to talk a bit about some of the things you learned, because I was interested when you look at, just your place in the program and everything between the start of this semester and now at the end of that semester, just those 4 months. Would you say that maybe a lot has changed in those 4 months? What would you say were some of your biggest takeaways from that time frame?
Definitely some of the biggest takeaways. Have a plan. I mean, I feel like that one's obvious, but it's very much, especially as a director, you kind of learn okay, really anything can go wrong. And when that does go wrong, you need to have some sort of contingency, or you need to be able to think on the fly and, okay, as an example, and this is partly my fault, we accidentally booked the wrong room for one of our B-roll days. I was planning on having it on the 4th floor of F building in one of the hive rooms, this nice area. But multiple things went wrong with that, because the original idea was we'll have Jeff in here, we'll do some mock B-roll and have him on the phone or answering emails. But he couldn't come during the week. So on top of that, we also booked one of what I would assume would be law lecture rooms, because you had the judges stand and the witness stand. It was an interesting room. And what we ended up getting to do in that room is we had this shot that we never really would have gotten otherwise with, I ended up being in the shot, but I was sitting in a chair, the room was lit blue, and I was playing Rocket League. And we have a couple angles of that. And that's something that we didn't plan for at all. That's something that we completely made up on the spot. We're okay, this could look cool. And I mean, it made it to the final cut. So I'm definitely happy that myself and my crew were able to think on our feet like that. Again, that's not something that you can be taught in a classroom. That's something you need to experience to really get an understanding of it. And it's stuff like that that I've kind of, as a director especially, taken away from this experience, where I now know going into future projects, okay, well, this stuff might happen. How can I think ahead of that? Or even, I did this or this wrong. Maybe I wasn't as vocal as I needed to be of what I was envisioning. And I know now it's okay, well, going forward, I need to be able to confidently and effortlessly bring forth my ideas in a way that people are going to understand. So it's not just me kind of like, oh, you know, it's this and this and this, and then people don't really get it. So a lot of that comes from experience, and I feel like that's a lot of what I took away from the experience for sure.
It's actually crazy, and this is one of those things I think you don't really understand until you actually go into media yourself. But like, you see like a finished product of something, and you see like just the one shot, and then it turns out that that one shot has like such a big story around it. Like, you know, it wasn't planned, you know, or it was planned, but then like something happened. It's all of that. So to kind of wrap this up a little bit, are there any like shout outs or thank yous or anything else that you want to add?
I mean, I definitely want to shout out just like the people who have really helped me kind of get to this position. Definitely, again, my friend Justin, who kind of helped push me in this direction in the first place. It was really nice of him to just kind of like take the time, sit down, and be like, "Yo, this is what the program's about. I think you'd be really good for it." Obviously, the people at Humber Esports, they've been just absolutely amazing. I'm really happy that I can consider everyone there my friend. And I mean, you know, of course, you know, the people that I know in the program, all the friends that I've made, the people at the cage, just with like helping me out with ideas and different kinds of things. And that's been a really, really big help. And then, of course, you know, the professors and the faculty that really actually give us the opportunity to make this happen. Because without their support, we wouldn't have anything. So just to have the opportunity to really make the stuff that we want to make, I think it's absolutely invaluable. And I have nothing but respect for all of the faculty at Humber.
Yep, completely agreed. Well, thank you again so much again, Adam. Before I sign this off, did you by chance happen to have a special shout out or thank you to myself?
No.
What? What?
What?